you and nobody even knows what you're doing. That's when the real transformation happens. Most people confuse attention with progress. They think that because people notice them, they're moving forward. But attention is a spotlight, and spotlights can blind you. When you're too focused on being seen, you stop focusing on building. True progress doesn't need an audience. True strength is built in silence, when you're doing the work without the need for approval or recognition. Silence is powerful because it strips away the noise. It forces you to face yourself. There's no one to impress, no crowd to cheer you on, no likes or comments to fuel you. It's just you and the work. That's where discipline is forged. That's where resilience grows. When you can keep going without applause, you know you're developing real strength, the kind that lasts when the applause fades. Silence also gives you clarity. When you're not distracted by what everyone else thinks or what they expect, you can hear your own goals more clearly. You stop asking, what will people say about this? And start asking, what do I want to achieve? That shift is massive. Because when you're working for yourself, for your vision, for your standards, you push harder. You don't settle. You don't slow down just because no one's watching. You keep moving because you know where you're going. Here's the thing. The results that last are the ones built in silence. Quick wins, flashy moves, public announcements, they fade. But the habits, the skills, the mindset you build quietly compound over time until they're unshakable. That's why silence builds strength. It's not about hiding. It's about creating a foundation so solid that when you do step into the spotlight, you're unmovable. You don't crumble under pressure because you've already done the hard work when nobody cared. Silence is also a shield. It protects your energy. When you tell the world everything you're working on, you invite distractions, doubts, and criticism. Some people won't believe in you. Others will try to talk you out of it, and many will wait for you to fail. But when you work in silence, you shut out that noise. You keep your energy focused on execution, not defending yourself. That focus becomes your strength. And here's what's beautiful about working in silence. Eventually the results make noise for you. You don't have to explain what you've been doing. You don't have to convince anyone to take you seriously. The work speaks louder than words ever could. People will look at what you've built and realize that while they were talking, you were building. While they were showing off, you were leveling up. And that moment, when your results are undeniable, is worth every quiet hour you spent grinding. Strength isn't built in crowds. It's built in the silence of early mornings, late nights, and long days when you push yourself without recognition. It's built when you choose discipline over distraction, persistence over applause, and execution over performance. And once you've built that kind of strength, nothing can take it away, because it wasn't given to you by an audience. It was earned by you in silence. Noise doesn't win, results do. That's the truth most people don't want to hear, because it's easier to make noise than it is to produce results. It's easier to talk about your goals than to do the daily grind it takes to reach them. It's easier to post a motivational quote than to live the discipline behind it. But in the end, noise fades. The hype, the announcements, the promises, they all disappear. What lasts, what actually matters are the results you produce. Think about it. Nobody remembers the person who said they were going to start a business, lose weight, or change their life. They remember the one who actually did it. Nobody respects the person who never stops talking about their dreams but never takes action. They respect the one who built something, achieved something, and delivered on what they promised themselves. Results speak a language everyone understands. You don't have to explain results. You don't have to convince anyone of results. They stand on their own, undeniable and permanent. Noise is seductive because it gives you a cheap sense of progress. You tell the world what you're going to do, and people clap, cheer, or encourage you. For a moment, you feel like you've accomplished something. But here's the danger: your brain gets the reward before you've done the work. You get the dopamine rush of recognition without having built anything. That's why so many people stop at the noise stage, because they already feel like winners even though nothing has been won. Results, on the other hand, require pain. They require sacrifice, discipline, and repetition. They don't come quickly and they don't come easily. You can't cheat your way to real results. 4. You can't buy them with shortcuts. You earn them brick by brick, hour by hour, rep by rep. And because they're earned, before they carry a weight and respect that noise never will. When you produce results, people don't just clap, they listen. They don't just notice, they follow. Because now you're not another voice in the crowd, you're proof that the work works. Here's the irony. Before, the people making the most noise often have the least to show for it, and the people with the best results are usually the quietest. Why? Because the ones working in silence don't need to convince anyone. They're too busy doing. They know that when the time comes, before their work will make all the noise that's needed. And it won't be hype, it'll be proof. If you want to win, or stop chasing attention and start chasing progress. Every hour you spend trying to look successful is an hour you could have spent actually becoming successful. Before every post, every announcement, every brag takes energy you could be putting into the work. And when you finally channel that energy into consistent action, that's when the shift happens. That's when you realize results are the loudest noise in the world. Think about the people you admire. Do you admire them because they talked a lot about what they were going to do? Or do you admire them because of what they built, what they achieved, and what they proved? Results create legacy. Results create influence. Results create opportunities. Noise just creates distractions. At the end of the day, before you have a choice, you can spend your life making noise or you can spend your life producing results. One fades the moment people stop paying attention. Before, the other lives on long after the noise has died. So don't waste time trying to sound impressive. Don't waste energy trying to look like you're winning. Put your head down, do the work, build the results. And when you finally show the world what you've created, you won't need to say a word because the results will say it all. Noise doesn't win, results do. That's the truth most people don't want to hear. Because it's easier to make noise than it is to produce results. It's easier to talk about your goals than to do the daily grind it takes to reach them. It's easier to post a motivational quote than to live the discipline behind it. But in the end, noise fades. The hype, the announcements, the promises, they all disappear. What lasts, what actually matters are the results you produce. Think about it. Nobody remembers the person who said they were going to start a business, lose weight, or change their life. They remember the one who actually did it. Nobody respects the person who never stops talking about their dreams but never takes action. They respect the one who built something, achieved something, and delivered on what they promised themselves. Results speak a language everyone understands. You don't have to explain results. You don't have to convince anyone of results. They stand on their own, undeniable and permanent. Noise is seductive because it gives you a cheap sense of progress. Before you tell the world what you're going to do, and people clap, cheer, or encourage you. For a moment, you feel like you've accomplished something. But here's the danger: your brain gets the reward before you've done the work. You get the dopamine rush of recognition without having built anything. That's why so many people stop at the noise stage, because they already feel like winners even though nothing has been won. Results, on the other hand, require pain. They require sacrifice, discipline, and repetition. They don't come quickly and they don't come easily. You can't cheat your way to real results. You can't buy them with shortcuts. You earn them brick by brick, hour by hour, rep by rep. And because they're earned, they carry a weight and respect that noise never will. When you produce results, people don't just clap, they listen. They don't just notice, they follow. Because now you're not another voice in the crowd. You're proof that the work works. Here's the irony. Before, the people making the most noise often have the least to show for it, and the people with the best results are usually the quietest. Why? Because the ones working in silence don't need to convince anyone. They're too busy doing. They know that when the time comes, their work will make all the noise that's needed, and it won't be hype. It'll be proof. If you want to win, stop chasing attention and start chasing progress. Every hour you spend trying to look successful is an hour you could have spent actually becoming successful. Every post, every announcement, every brag takes energy you could be putting into the work. And when you finally channel that energy into consistent action, that's when the shift happens. That's when you realize results are the loudest noise in the world. Think about the people you admire. 4, do you admire them because they talked a lot about what they were going to do? Or do you admire them because of what they built, what they achieved, and what they proved? Results create legacy. Results create influence. Results create opportunities. Noise just creates distractions. At the end of the day, you have a choice. You can spend your life making noise, or you can spend your life producing results. One fades the moment people stop paying attention. The other lives on long after the noise has died. So don't waste time trying to sound impressive. Don't waste energy trying to look like you're winning. Put your head down. Do the work. Build the results. And when you finally show the world what you've created, you won't need to say a word because the results will say it all. Validation is a trap. It feels good in the moment, but it keeps you stuck. The need for recognition, the craving for applause, the desire to be seen, it tricks you into thinking you're making progress when really you're standing still. Every time you share your plans just to hear someone say, "That's amazing," you get a quick hit of dopamine and your brain mistakes that for achievement. But here's the reality: applause isn't progress and validation isn't victory. You can collect compliments for years and still have nothing to show for it. 4, validation tricks you because it feels like proof. When people cheer for you, you feel like you're on the right path. But the truth is, most people clap for the idea of success, not the reality of it. They'll tell you your vision is inspiring, but they won't be there when you're grinding alone at midnight. They'll pat you on the back for starting, but they'll vanish when you struggle to keep going. 4, and if you depend on their approval to move forward, you'll collapse the moment the cheering stops. That's why validation is dangerous. It makes your progress conditional on other people. The trap runs even deeper. When you start living for validation, you change your behavior to earn it. You stop chasing what matters and start chasing what looks good. Instead of doing the hard, boring, unglamorous work that actually builds results, you do the easy, flashy work that gets attention. You sacrifice the long term for the short term hit of being noticed. And little by little, or you drift away from your true goals and into a life designed around other people's opinions. That's not freedom. That's a cage. 4, the irony is that the people you're trying to impress aren't even paying attention. Everyone's too caught up in their own struggles to care about your validation chase. They're like your post. They'll give you a compliment, but then they'll move on with their day. Meanwhile, you're left waiting for more likes, more praise, more proof that you're enough. It becomes a cycle. The more you chase validation, the more powerless you feel without it. And slowly, 4, you hand over control of your life to strangers who don't even think about you twice. Real growth begins when you let go of the need for validation. When you stop asking, "Do they approve of me?" and start asking, "Am I proud of me?" That's the only validation that matters. Or internal validation, the kind that comes from keeping promises to yourself, from stacking wins no one sees, from doing the work in silence. That's the kind of validation that can't be taken away because it doesn't depend on anyone else. And here's the truth: validation will never make you great. Work will. Discipline will. Resilience will. You don't need someone to clap for you to keep moving forward. You don't need someone to tell you you're capable. You prove it to yourself every single day by showing up and doing the work. That's where confidence comes from, not from what people say about you, but from what you consistently do when nobody's watching. So stop chasing the applause. Stop wasting energy trying to look successful. 4, put that energy into actually becoming successful, because here's what happens when you focus on the work instead of validation. The results eventually speak for themselves. And when they do, the same people you used to beg for approval will be the ones asking how you did it. Validation is a trap, but it only works if you step into it. The way out is simply build for yourself, not for applause. Trust the process, not the praise. And remember, when the results come, they'll make more noise than validation ever could. Consistency beats performance. That's the truth most people don't want to hear, because performance looks exciting, but consistency looks boring. Performance is when you give your all for a short burst, maybe 1 week of grinding, 1 day of working hard, one moment where you put in everything you've got. Or consistency, on the other hand, is about showing up day after day, even when it's not exciting, even when no one notices, even when you don't feel like it before. And that's why it wins every single time. Performance is overrated because it's temporary. Anyone can turn it on for a short period. 4. Anyone can sprint for a moment, but life isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. And the people who go the distance are the ones who build habits before, not the ones who rely on occasional bursts of motivation. If you go hard for a week and then quit, you're starting from zero again. But if you put in steady effort every day, you're building something that compounds. Consistency stacks, and stacked effort is what creates breakthroughs. Think about it. If you went to the gym one day and worked out for 10 hours straight, would that make you fit? No. But if you worked out for 1 hour a day, 5 days a week for a year, your entire body would transform. Why? Because the body responds to consistency, not to one-time performance. 4. The same applies to business, relationships, skills, and every other area of life. Doing a little bit repeatedly beats doing a lot once in a while. The problem is, 4. Most people chase performance because it looks better on the outside. It looks impressive to say, 4. I worked 16 hours yesterday, or I pulled an all-nighter. But what does that mean if you burn out for the next week? What does that mean if you only do it once? It means nothing. The person who quietly works 6 to 8 hours every single day will crush the one who brags about the occasional grind. Slow, steady. 4. Consistent execution always beats short-lived intensity. Consistency also builds trust with yourself. When you're consistent, you prove to yourself that you can show up no matter what. That builds confidence. You stop relying on hyper-motivation and you start relying on discipline. Before, you know that even on bad days, you'll still get something done. That's powerful because it removes the emotional roller coaster. You don't have to feel like it. You just do it. And over time, that reliability becomes your superpower. Performance, on the other hand, is emotional. It's tied to bursts of inspiration. And when that inspiration fades, so does the effort. That's why so many people live in cycles of starting strong and then quitting. They keep chasing a high instead of building a habit. They want fireworks, but fireworks burn out. What actually lasts is the quiet flame that never goes out. That's consistency. Consistency doesn't mean perfection. It doesn't mean you never miss a day. It means that missing one day doesn't throw you off track. Before, it means you keep showing up more often than not, and you keep stacking the work, even when it's not pretty. Perfection fails because it sets impossible standards. Before, consistency works because it accepts reality. You're human, you'll slip up, but you'll always come back. At the end of the day, before, greatness isn't built in one performance. It's built in thousands of small, repeated actions. Success is boring behind the scenes. It's unglamorous. Before, it's repetitive. But that's why it works, because consistency doesn't depend on moods, hype, or attention. It depends only on discipline. So stop chasing big performances. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Give your all. Instead, commit to the grind day after day. Before, commit to showing up when it's exciting, and more importantly, when it's not. Because if you stay consistent before, the results will eventually look like magic to everyone else. But you'll know the truth, it wasn't magic. It was consistency beating performance every single time. Freedom comes from quiet work. When you stop broadcasting every move, when you stop trying to prove yourself to the world, you finally release the weight of expectation. Most people live their lives trapped in the opinions of others. They feel chained to what their family thinks, what their friends say, what strangers on the internet might comment. They share their goals not because they're ready to achieve them but because they crave validation, and then they become prisoners of that validation, working not for themselves but for applause. Quiet work breaks that chain. Before, when you work in silence, you don't have to perform. You don't have to pretend to be further ahead than you are. Before, you don't have to carry the pressure of keeping up an image. You're free to make mistakes without the world watching. You're free to experiment, to fail, before to try again, because nobody is scoring you in real time. That freedom is what allows you to actually grow. Growth doesn't happen under a spotlight. For it happens in the dark, behind the curtain, in the hours when nobody is looking. The truth is, validation is addictive. For the moment you tell people you're working on something, you get a little dopamine hit. You feel proud. You feel like you've already achieved part of it before. And that false sense of accomplishment robs you of the drive to do the real work before. That's why the people who talk the most about their goals are often the ones who finish the least. Quiet workers don't need that dopamine, or they get their reward from the grind itself, from knowing they're building something real, not just the appearance of progress. Quiet work also gives you control before. When nobody knows your plans, nobody can interfere with them. Opinions can't derail you. Doubters can't discourage you. For haters can't sabotage what they don't even see. You keep your focus clean, undistracted, pure. Every ounce of your energy goes into execution instead of defense. For that's freedom, the ability to move without being weighed down by outside noise. There's another kind of freedom that comes with silent work. The freedom of surprise. When you finally reveal what you've built, people don't see the struggle, the failures, or the countless hours before. They only see the finished product, and in that moment, the results speak so loudly that you don't have to. That's the beauty of staying quiet while you build. For you don't owe anyone explanations along the way. You just show them what persistence looks like when it's done. That moment of shock, when people realize how much you've accomplished without them even knowing, is the loudest victory of all. Think of it like planting seeds. Or if you dig up the soil every day to show everyone the progress, the plant never grows. But if you keep it covered, if you quietly water it and care for it, one day it breaks through the ground strong and undeniable. Your work is the same. Keep it protected in silence and it grows into something real. Expose it too early for attention and you risk killing it before it matures. In the end, freedom isn't just about doing what you want. It's about being unshackled from the need to prove, the need to impress, the need to constantly show off. Quiet work gives you that. It creates a space where your only competition is yesterday's version of yourself. No critics, no audience, no noise, just you, the work, and the results. And when those results come, they give you the truest form of freedom, the power to let your success speak for itself. Let results make the noise. That's the principle that separates the people who win quietly from the people who talk loudly and never deliver. Anyone can talk about their plans. Anyone can announce their goals, their new projects, their dreams for the future. But the world doesn't reward talk. It rewards proof. And proof is built through results. When you let results speak, you don't have to convince anyone. You don't have to argue for your worth, defend your ideas or chase validation. Results end the debate. They're undeniable. They are the receipts of your discipline, your patience, your consistency, and your hard work. When people see what you've built, what you've achieved, and what you've created, no explanation is needed. The scoreboard speaks louder than your words ever could. The problem is most people want the noise before they've earned the results. They want the applause before they've done the work. They want to be seen as successful instead of actually being successful. And because of that, they waste energy performing success instead of creating it. They show off the grind, but they don't actually grind. They announce their plans but they never follow through. They live for noise, and noise fades fast. Letting results make the noise requires humility and patience. It means putting your head down and building without needing the world to notice. It means staying focused while others are distracted. It means being okay with people doubting you, overlooking you, or even mocking you, because you know that one day the results will silence all of it. When the results come, there is no need to clap back, no need to defend yourself, no need to prove anything. The work will have already done that for you. The people you respect most, the ones who inspire you, didn't get there by talking about what they were going to do. They got there by doing it. They weren't loud in the beginning. They were consistent. They didn't waste their energy on convincing people to believe in them. They put that energy into building something so strong that people couldn't ignore it. The noise came after, not before. And here's the truth. Results have a power that noise never will. Words can be doubted. Promises can be forgotten. But results can't be denied. You can't argue with someone's track record. You can't dismiss consistent achievement. You can't ignore undeniable progress. Even people who dislike you will have to respect results, because reality is louder than opinion. Letting results make the noise also protects you from burnout and distraction. When you're not chasing applause, For you free yourself from the pressure of constantly performing for others. You don't care if they notice today because you're not building for today. Before, you're building for the long term. You're stacking brick after brick, rep after rep, step after step. And while it might be quiet now, before, when the structure is finished, when the foundation is solid, the impact will be heard everywhere. The irony is that the quietest workers usually end up with the loudest results. Before, the ones who resist the urge to broadcast their every move are the ones who shock the world when they finally reveal what they've built. And by then, before it's too late for doubt, the noise of their results drowns out everything else. So stop trying to sound successful. Before, stop trying to look the part before you've played the part. Don't worry about proving people wrong with words. Prove them wrong with action. Let your success be so clear that it requires no explanation, because at the end of the day, noise is temporary, but results last forever. Before, and when you let results make the noise, the world has no choice but to listen.